Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that really helps to get my channel promoted, and I really appreciate that. I also love it when people leave comments, so if you have a question about the video, a suggestion for a video, you want to tell me how you do things, or you just have some constructive criticism, I always appreciate those sorts of things, so feel free to leave a comment for me. I thought today I would do 3 different settings for a stone, to show you some different options you can do if you wanted to make a setting that's sort of crown-like. And 2 of these are ones I've made similar ones to in the past, and the third one I've never done before, so I'm going to try a new one as well. But I think it'd be fun to make all 3 of them for the particular stone that I picked, which is a big, pretty smoky quartz. It's kind of a pale one. It's a round faceted stone, and it's about 16.5 millimeters wide, so it's a pretty good sized one. So we'll make 3 settings for that all look a little bit like crowns, and we'll see which one looks best. Before we get started, though, I'd like to thank some groups of people. First is my patrons over on Patreon. They're my core group of supporters, and I have a new one. Christy, thank you for signing up. I really appreciate your support, and I think that you'll find that the people over there are a super nice group of people with lots of knowledge who are willing to share it. So tap into that and enjoy the group there. Thank you also to those patrons who are already there, and I do appreciate your support, both financially as well as the great community that you've built over there, so thanks for that. The other group is my YouTube subscribers, and we just passed 18,800, I believe, which is awesome. Thank you for that. I do really appreciate the kind comments, and when you tell me that you've gotten something good out of a video, that helps me to know what's useful to you and what's not useful to you, as well as being touching sometimes, so thank you for that. I do also appreciate the Buy Me a Coffees and the Super Thanks and the other ways to support the channel, like the merch store and things, so thanks for that. Alright, well, let's get started on these 3 different crown type settings. This is one of my design idea books that I sketch up my designs in, and this particular one has a nice convenient chart on the back that converts fractions of an inch to decimals to millimeters, which I use all the time. I have some other different charts on the backs of some of the other ones in my merch store, so consider getting yourself one. I find them useful. So it's a great place to keep track of your ideas and projects from the past in case you want to go back and revisit them, which I do on occasion. So, alright, here's today's deal. Get this out of here. I have this lovely smoky quartz. Like I said, it's about 16.5 millimeters. I don't know how many carats it is. I suppose I could weigh that later. But I like with these kind of big faceted stones like this, if I'm going to put it in a ring or even in a pendant sometimes, I like to do these kind of crown-like settings. The very first one I ever tried to do was made out of sheet like this. And I drew, for some reason I drew 8 prongs on this one. But I'm going to do 6, I think. And it's going to be made out of 22 gauge sheet, which is 0.66 millimeters. We'll probably start with that one. To get this curve here, I used this little template that I have. I got this from Pepe Tools. And I measured out, I took the diameter of the stone multiplied times pi, and it comes out to 51.81. I added an additional couple of millimeters, and then that's how long the top line was up here, because that's the side that's going to need to go around there. But I need it to be a little bit spread out so the stone will be down enough to where I can cut some seats in these for the stone to sit in. We'll start with a strip of 22 gauge sheet. We'll do that. We'll make it into kind of a cone shape. See how the stone fits. If we need to make any adjustments to the size of it, at that point we'll do that. And then I think I'm going to use some polar graph paper to mark out the 60-degree points on the circle. Let's see, 360 all the way around, right? So 60 times 6 is 360. So yeah, it'd be 60 degrees for each of the points of these prongs. And then we'll carve out the little dips for them. The second one I was going to do, this is the one I've never really done one quite like this. But I thought if I did little kind of marquee shapes out of 16 gauge square wire, which is 1.3 millimeters, and then soldered them to this, made it into it'll also be kind of a cone shape, and then dap it with a dapping punch until it spreads out to the right distance like that, and then we'll make it into a setting. This one is going to be similar, but it's going to be 16 gauge round wire, and I didn't draw this one as nicely as I drew these ones, but same idea. It's going to be mounted on top of a piece of 16 gauge square probably, and these will be 16 gauge round rings, and we'll just solder them together like that, and then we'll snip out the top pieces, so you end up with 12 prongs when you connect it, and we can do it the same way. So to start with, let's cut a piece of sheet like this. I need to find my 22. Surely I could get it off of that, could I? If I can, that'll be nice. I think I might be able to off of this little piece of that was just sitting there. So the outer one was the longer one. And then I went down about 10 millimeters, which was just kind of a swag. I used to just kind of freehand the curve here, or you can take something that has a big circular diameter, something like this, maybe bigger than this though, and just trace it out like that, and that works pretty well. The steeper the curve, the wider the cone will be that you create when you solder them together. So let's cut this out, and then we'll solder it into a cone shape by soldering this end to this end, and then we'll put it on some polar graph paper and see how it looks. So start by cutting this out. If you haven't been to my channel before, I use hard silver sheet solder, which looks like this primarily. I use liquid flux that I dribble on with a dropper bottle. My torch is a Silversmith model. It's an acetylene air torch. It pulls in atmospheric air through here and mixes it with the gas to get a little hotter flame. Not as hot as an oxyacetylene, but you don't really need that much heat for silver most of the time. See how my inside curve cutting skills are with the snips. You could cut this out with a saw if you prefer. Okay, I'm going to do a little cleanup filing just to smooth it out. I think that'll work just fine. If we want it to be tapered more, we could change the angle. It is pretty straight up and down on this one. I might change the angle just slightly a little bit here. If we angle it just a little bit more this way. File those flat again. It's okay if it's a little peaked like that because we're going to file it flat on the top anyway and flat on the bottom. So let's solder it together and then we'll shape it a little better. Looks like I have plenty of solder here, so you could drape a little piece over the top of that if you want to. Make a little hook in it and a long skinny one and just drop it down there so it's covering the crack. But I think I'm just going to pick a little bit on here. I have a good video about pick soldering if you're interested. I will put a link right there. It's a handy way to get some solder where you want it to go. So first let's get the bottom flat and then we'll get the other side flat. I want them to be parallel. I think we did pretty good on the size because it's got just a little bit of a lip up there, which I want in order to, like I said, cut that seat for the girdle of the stone. If you haven't dealt with faceted stones before and you need to know which one I'm talking about, the girdle of the stone is the edge, the widest part of the stone, where the pavilion on the bottom and the crown on the top come together. And that's where we're going to have a little seat for it to sit in there, and then we'll bend the tops of the prongs over the stone. But I filed this flat on the bottom and on the top and tried to get them as parallel as I could. Now we need to get that polar graph paper. I didn't realize this stuff existed a few years ago. Somebody mentioned it and I was like, wow, that's super useful. So let's do this. Let's extend, these are the 60-degree points. Let me find my marker. Let's try and get that pretty centered on there. Okay, so I've got the 60-degree points there. And I think I want to try and, in the past, sometimes when I've done this, I didn't get the tips of the prongs quite right. There were variations in the width of them. So I'm going to try and use this to narrow that down to get them pretty close to the same. That way at least the tops will have the same width. You can make these, because these are going to dip down between each one, and you can make that go as far down as you want within reason. So I think I don't want them to go that far down, but that's too shallow, so somewhere in between. because we want lots of light to get to the stone as well. That's more reasonable. So let's just scribe a line all the way around there. So really I need to cut out a piece like that on each of these. So I think we're just going to go over and saw these out now. And then I'll use a Dremel with an abrasive wheel to, so I didn't scratch out, to get them all symmetrical and neat. I think also while we still have a hole, I'm going to scribe out how far down I want the slot for the girdle to be on the inside. That way it's already there, and it should be pretty consistent then, so I get my stone straight. Looks like I'm doing it about 2 to 3 millimeters down. Okay. So let's go over and saw some of these out. So I got that cut out, and then I used my Dremel with an abrasive white wheel to kind of smooth those out and make them as symmetrical as I could. Looks like this one's a little bit wider. I may need to go back. But then I took a little tiny ball burr, and right where that line that I scribed in there, I cut a little ledge there that this will sit on when we get to that stage. Right in there. And then we'll be pushing those prongs down over and smoothing them out a little bit. So that's one type of crown setting. I'm excited to try this one. I have not done this one before, but I made a couple of pieces. Because of the way this one was coned, not very much, I might make this a tiny bit shorter just to see, not very much, just a little bit to see if that gets us a little more steep cone on this one. But basically, where's my square wire? Okay. So I went in about, where's my marker go again? About 10 millimeters, and then about 10 millimeters again. And in this middle one, I cut a notch with the edge of my file, part way through, so that I can make a sharper bend right there. Should be pretty close. Kind of like that. Then I think, let's solder the top and the bottom with just a little bit of solder. Okay, so now I'm just going to file the bottom flat. So I'm just going to work my way all the way across that and try and get it as close as I can. So I'm probably not going to make you watch me do the same thing over and over again, but it looks like I'm going to have 3 and maybe, I'm guessing 4 more or 5 more. We'll see. Ended up doing a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that gets us pretty close. So now we got to solder about 15 solder joints. Let's cool that off. just so I don't disassemble anything accidentally. I'm going to stick it in the magnesia block and just pick it right in those spots there. So if you ever have something that doesn't quite fit on the mandrel that you want it to fit on too, you can just kind of stick your chain nose pliers in there and spread it open slightly. Then you can maybe go a little bit further. And you can sometimes get it on there. We can round it out a little bit then. Could probably try to do it this way a little bit to get it a little rounder. Let's see if we got it good. Just gently tap it, as if someone gently rapping on your chamber door. All right, that's pretty close. Do a little bit of filing. So this is going to need to be spread out just a little bit more. And one of the reasons I did this sort of a design was because these will stretch in the middle as we tap it downwards with this. So we're going to start a little bit with a small one. It's just a little bit bigger than this. There's probably a ton of variations you could do for this. This one I just kind of I did a similar one a while back, but I think I did V's, like upside down V's, to make sort of a crowny looking one. I'll try and put a link to that one up here if I can remember which video it was. So I think that's about right, because once I cut that seat for the stones girdle, it'll sit right in there nice, and I won't even have to do much. So that's pretty good. So let's do the last one. So same kind of deal. I just made some round rings out of 16 gauge. They ended up being about maybe 8 millimeters in diameter, and that worked out to be about the right length. So I'm just going to solder those on now, just like we did on the other one. I left the split in the ring at the top because we're going to snip out part of that anyway. That looks pretty good. Did I get all the bottom ones? Add a little bit on this one just to make sure. I'm going to get the bottom soldered here, and then I'm going to cool it off, and then we'll get those lined up better, and we'll do the upper this one. Alright, so I'm going to solder that one that I didn't have soldered there, if I have some solder left. Okay, now I need to do a little bit of shaping, and we'll come back and we'll make a decision. Okay, so I did a few things. I flattened it out a little bit. I need to file it a little bit more on the bottom to get that evened up where it was soldered together. And I cut these circles off just a little bit above where they joined together on each one, and then filed them kind of flattish at the top. And this should get me a girdle line right above the slot there, so I can cut a seat in there, and we'll have that one. And you see this one gives it a 12 prong kind of look, which is kind of nice and surprisingly easy to get that many prongs on a piece like this. When I figured that out, that was like, oh duh. So I'll get that cleaned up, and then I'll make a decision, and then I'll let you know what I decided. Okay, I have these all polished up. Here's this one. I think that turned out nice. I've made a few of these and I always like the way they look. Well, it's going to sit in there like that, and then those prongs will be bent over just slightly and trimmed down and thinned out a little bit probably. But kind of like that. So that's number one. Number two, I haven't cut any notches in this one yet. Okay, well it's going to go kind of like that, except a little bit down further. So that'll be pretty. And this one, which this looks like a Charlemagne crown to me. An old-fashioned crown. And I had a thought. Rather than having me decide which one of these settings to do, why don't I have you all decide? And if you want to put in a vote in the comment section for which one you think I should make into the setting for this stone, we'll call this one the Crown 1, Crown 2, and Crown 3. So if you put in the comment section which one you like, I'll tally it up after a couple of weeks, and then I'll incorporate it into a piece. I was originally thinking a ring, but it would also make a nice pendant too, I think. It's a very pretty stone. So you can cast a vote for that as well if you want to. Just do it in the same comment. Say crown number 2, ring setting, or something like that. And we'll take a look at it after a couple of weeks, and I'll make something, and I'll post it in the community tab. So, all right, well, I'll get some better pictures of those and put them at the end. All right, well, that was the 3 crown settings. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you go. And I would also love it if you would take a moment and visit my main channel page. I have well over 450 videos now. I do 3 per week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, and one on Saturday generally. And so there's quite a bit of content there. I just passed my 3-year anniversary on being a YouTube creator. So Check out some of those videos over there. I'm almost certain you'll find something else you like. There's quite a variety of things, lots of projects, some skill videos, how to make different kinds of clasps, all different kinds of things like that. So peruse that. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And hit the bell if you want to get notifications on when the videos come out. I'd also love it if you'd hit the description down below and check out the links there. There's a link to my newest ebook, which is a guide to 2024's tutorials, of which there were 170 plus. It includes a link to the video plus all sorts of additional information about the project, including notes that I made regarding different aspects of it, whether I would do it the same a second time, things that I learned about it, what difficulty level I'd give it a rating for, all that kind of stuff. So check those out. Buy yourself one of those books. You can even get the 2023 and the 2024 one together in a package and save a little money. There's a link to my merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea books. Those are really handy. And there's a link to my Patreon if you want to find out more about that community. So, all right, well, thank you for visiting. Take care. Happy silversmithing.